Okay, got it. All right, so this video I wanted to do is um, basically about, I guess I should have written this down, basically about what our future should look like. And I took all my notes on this pizza box. So, yeah, and there's just some really cool stuff that I've learned. Most all of this comes from one podcast I listened to. It was TEDx. Elon Musk was being questioned about what should our future look like and why is it boring. And if you know about Elon Musk, he started this company called the Boring Company, and so that's kind of their little title catchphrase. And so, yeah, the main reason I wanted to make this video is what does the future look like to you? And what's it look like to me? And what's it look like, especially um, as first world country, as a first world nation? Um, we're leading the charge. We're, shooting into the future, and it's important what we desire our futures to look like. Especially looking back at history and seeing countries rise and fall, and we want to try to grow and be productive and be as long lasting and effective at pushing humanity forward as possible. And so there's so much good stuff to be. This is just a good topic just to think about and expand upon. And so to start off with, there's two terms I'd like to discuss. I was with a friend yesterday, and we talked a lot about politics and history. Man, he loves politics and history, and I love talking to people about anything. And so I learned a lot about him, a lot about politics and history from him. And I like what he said about the definitions for politics and history. Like, he kind of defined them in a certain way. He said that politics is like the history of the present, and history is like the politics of the past. And if you look at Google, if you just look at Google's definition, or they took it from Webster or whatever. But anyways, politics is the activities associated with governance of a country or other area, especially the debate or conflict among individuals or parties having or hoping to achieve power. And it's true, there's a lot of truth to the power is a thing that's kind of driven humanity. And the United States is one of the first nations that, as in when it became more imperialistic, I think my friend was telling me that we were like the first, like, I think the word is benevolent imperialism. Like, we're the only first country that's ever been a benevolent imperialist. I'm not sure if that word is the right word. Basically, we're one of the first ones to actually be a nice imperialist country. Like, we're trying to help humanity and help push forward other countries, and like, we're not just going around the world conquering and shoving a gun in people's faces and wanting them to be like us. We're giving people money, and like, we're actually nice to the people we come and help out, or the places that we go around the world, which is a really crazy thing. There's so much there, and he's really brought up tons and tons and tons of interesting points, and looking at other countries and other imperial empires, and just there's so much to learn there. But anyways, yeah, he was talking about like politics is the history of the present, and history is the politics of the past. And so when you're discussing politics, I like thinking of it that way. It's more like, what kind of future are we trying to achieve, and what's our present? What does our present need to look like, and what do we want? And because it is going to be the history of the future. And so I think it inspires me more. One of the problems is the generation that's coming up, us millennials, that's been coming up and is, probably in the middle of its time. We all, it's so funny what kind of defines our generation. And honestly, we've had it really easy, and that really affects us in positive and negative ways. But there's a lot more negative I'm kind of thinking about than positive. And I want us to be like our forefathers before us, and I want us to be like those who have gone through things like the Great Depression and World War I and II, and even before we were a imperialistic empire, nation, a country. We wanted to be isolationist. and just to ourselves. And there's so much that Americans just have changed and evolved, and things in the current day mean a lot more to the people at the time and around that time frame than they do in the future. Like we look back at FDR. He, well, no. Well, anyways, there's a whole topic there that I don't really want to get into. So, should our future look like? Like, what do you and I think our future should look like, even for non-Americans? How is the world's future like? What should it look like, and how should it, how should we dream? And do we need to? Our dreams and inspiration important? That kind of goes to the end of this video and the end of this podcast I was listening to. So to get into this, Elon Musk is the founder of corporations such as SpaceX, and I'm sure there's other big ones I'm just not thinking of because I don't know a whole lot about them. SpaceX and the Boring Company and Tesla, those are what were kind of discussed. And the thing, Elon Musk is such a cool individual. And I find that people will follow leaders who benefit mankind, like who are looking for it, who are awesome. Like people will follow awesome people, like who can promise them, who can lead them. And the effective leadership is something for humanity. Effective leadership looks like inspiration, and it looks like hope, and it looks like love, and it looks like power. It looks like power. I'm not really for. I don't think power is a very good motivator. But I want to make this more of a secular type of video, which I could work on. But just really cool, really cool. So, but let me finally get into it. So Elon Musk is being questioned on TEDx about this type of stuff. The future we're building and boring. So why are you boring, Elon Musk? And I didn't get it at first because why is he boring? That doesn't make sense, like lame. But it's about he's doing a lot of boring projects underground. He wants to do some 3D networks of tunnels underneath Los Angeles to help decrease congestion in traffic because it kills so much time. It takes so much of our time away when we're in traffic, and it's soul-sucking. So he wants to do two things there. He wants to give us the most valuable commodity back, time, and he wants to give us some of our souls back, I suppose. Give us a little bit more of our not so much willpower to be taken away from us by so much stress there, so that we can use our creativity for better things. Whatever, there's an idea there. But the thing is with tunneling, though, is it costs a lot of money to move dirt, apparently. I did not know that. But apparently the cost to move dirt is quite expensive. But if you think about it, if you were building like cities underground instead of above ground, you can go a lot farther below ground than you can build upwards, just due to construction constraints and stuff. It's just that moving dirt apparently is really expensive. But the reason he wants to go underground rather than above ground, specifically in terms of like transportation, is that he kind of has his vision set that flying cars are more of a negative because they're loud, and as they move through the air, the forces caused by that, of flying around and whatnot, and vibrations and things of that sort will affect everyday life in cities and whatnot, he was claiming. Again, I'm sharing these ideas. I haven't looked into it a whole lot. I just find it very true and interesting. And also, he finds, it was kind of funny, he finds that the flying cars would bring more anxiety and stress rather than good, because, when you have flying cars above you and whatnot, you, having them like zoom overhead of you or crash, and you don't want to, like he was making the point that cars on the ground don't really freak people out as much, but over in the air, he just sees that as more an anxiety increase rather than a decrease, which is pretty funny. Honestly, I could see it being a normal thing, just having flying cars, but apparently he doesn't want that. He had that vision himself. So, moving on from that, he also has invented this or started this project for the Hyperloop, which I gather I've heard of it before, I think, and I think this is the same thing. But basically, it's just a innovative transportation technology for like a vacuum chamber, basically kind of like a bullet train, except a vacuum chamber. So frictionless, obviously, in a vacuum, and apparently the speed, I assume trains, the speed of these trams or trains or whatever you want to call them would be significantly faster than even the bullet train is, which is really cool. And I mean, just to throw a number out there, I imagine that's at least like 700 miles per hour. I know that the speeds they're crazy fast. Just that's all you need to know. They're just very significant speeds, and he would like see it from city to city to be able to make stuff like that. So, for instance, out Los Angeles to Washington D.C., making a straight vacuum chamber, a tunnel straight from L.A. to Washington D.C., and he argues that like four tunnel diameter distances below than the tunnel, the boring tunnel, that people above, like in houses and stuff, wouldn't even be able to hear trains going through it. Apparently, the Earth is very good at absorbing the vibrations of the noises and stuff like that, which makes sense. But you'd have to look into it and stuff, which is good to do. But I just, I there's trust there. He's very credible. So not that you should just take for word anything, but I'm just saying I'm not interested in looking up all those, like doing all the research myself. There's that type of a topic too. But anyways, apparently it can be a real good thing. And it's just quite fascinating that idea of doing underground vacuum tubes. And you can, go, there's so much depth that you can really have almost not an infinite amount, but of hundreds and hundreds of vacuum tube levels, if you were wanting to go around other lines and whatnot, kind of like a circuit board when they have multiple layers and whatnot. So, but there's the Hyperloop, and he was talking about like a hobby thing. It's this hobby project that he's got too, and this boring company thing. I can't remember what company. There was some company that was like a hobby company to him, and it only takes up like 2% of his time or something like that. It was Elon Musk is a very inspiring and motivating character, and we need people like that in our country. As Americans, we need that. Like in my generation and a lot of us, there's a lot of negative, the country has a kind of a negative thing due to like politics and stuff like that. But honestly, I think that society and culture, I feel like maybe it's due to having it too easy, but we don't value what we have more than we should. And the world looks to America culturally, and the world sees America as such a success and as such an inspiring thing. And a lot of the reason we have such strong cultural rapport with the rest of the world is that, for one, we don't, when we're a benevolent imperialism. I'm going to keep using that term. If it's wrong, just you go with it. But as we've been going out into different countries and supporting everybody and trying to invest and spend money on people and give people support. It's like, oh, are you next to this big country and they're going to attack you? Like, we'll support you and whatnot. And obviously, some of this is due just to the fight again from capitalist to communism and that fight that was going on there. And nowadays, at least as millennials, it doesn't. We kind of grew up with terrorism as kind of the main thing, and there's a whole topic there, but it's just very interesting what the United States has become, and we're one of probably the first in all of humanity's history popular imperialist countries. And I don't really see us as imperialists. That's kind of a weird word, but it's just what I'm going to use for now. But like, we're looked upon favorably because the same reason that Elon Musk is looked upon favorably. Like, we are striving for not, like, perfection in a sense, but we're striving for like inspiration and dreams and love. And like, love is kind of a weird one to say, but But we're striving for the best. Like we want to make things awesome, which is great. And that's kind of why I'm making this video too. I'm gonna keep making videos about the stuff, but so anyways, let me just get through this thing. So there's a lot of questioning back and forth from the TEDx individual. I don't know what his name was, but then they went into Tesla, Elon Musk company Tesla, and basically sustainable energy, turning all vehicles towards electric, and how the electric semi would be more powerful than the diesel semis, apparently, and that if they were to do like a tug of war battle, that the electric semi could beat the diesel semi even if it had to pull the diesel uphill. Like that's how powerful the electric ones will be, which is a key issue because like an electric motor, like is that really ever going to be more powerful than a fossil fuel motor? A diesel or any oil, petrol, or gas or whatnot. But anyways, so that's cool. And also, obviously there's artificial self-driving cars. I don't know. I would love to learn more about that, but I just, there's that push for that, and it's already happening. I believe there's already cars. I think there are that can probably drive from Los Angeles to New York, and not just the one path, but can have deviations and go anywhere. I think that they can already do that. I should look more into that. It'd be cool. But it's awesome. There's the most important stuff, honestly, about all of this is at the end. Just to let you know, there's something very powerful behind all of this. So then also he wants solar panel roofing, and he says that probably what he thinks is realistic is that within 40 or 50 years, all houses will have solar roofing. It'll be rare to not have a house with solar roofing on it. Such an awesome dream. Again, look at the YouTube video if you want to see all this yourself. It's the future we're building and boring Elon Musk. So look that up on YouTube. Okay, and then he also, he wanted to do reusable rockets, which is really awesome. And he's really pushing for space. And ever since 1969, when we sent, a man to the moon, I believe that's right. I wrote that down. Anyways, but like since the late 60s, there's this trend of not caring about space. I wrote that down though. I thought I did. Maybe I didn't, but I guess I might not have really as much. But basically, there's been this downward trend of. Oh, I did. I know I wrote that. Oh yeah. Okay, I wrote it. Okay. Yeah, I guess there's later on the video I was going to talk about that, but basically, there's this downward trend of interest in space exploration. But so he's wanting to make reusable rockets so that way it's like a car or a plane. You don't have to always send it back to the manufacturer to use it because it's important for space exploration and getting out there. In 20 years time, he wants to have in 20 years time he wants to be sending people to Mars and have a city on Mars, using a rocket able to house a fully loaded, maxed out 747 Boeing airliner as cargo. So not even including this rocket's own weight, it could house an entire 747, all the passengers, all the fuel on that plane, and the plane's weight itself. That could be used as cargo in this rocket, and this rocket could lift that itself and its own fuel, all of it, to outer space, to Mars. And apparently it's going to be that rocket would be 4 times bigger, have 4 times bigger thrust than the Saturn rocket, which is the biggest thrust rocket we've ever built in humanity. It's crazy. He's dreaming, and it's awesome. He honestly hopes, he said at first in 20 years time to send people to Mars. Then later in the video he said he hopes in 8 to 10 years that he can do that, but he also is saying that internal targets are much more aggressive. So he's probably even thinking like at the best like 2 years to 5 years, somewhere in there. I imagine maybe in 6 years or so it could happen if that inspiration is really there. But the future spaceships will make that rocket look like a rowboat, technologically speaking. He's dreaming. It's amazing. And it could not happen. But anyways, so this is where this thing gets interesting. There's all this technological stuff that Elon Musk cares about. And I know that the video is mostly about what future do you see and what future do I see, and we all care about different things. He's technologically interested in. And honestly, that's a very fascinating thing for Americans and humanity. You know, technology has always been fascinating to us. Um, but why? So they asked Elon Musk, this guy. So why a million people city on Mars, and why in our lifetime? Because that's what he wants. Uh, so Elon Musk's answer to this was, it's important to have a future that's inspiring and appealing. There has to be reasons to get up in the morning and want to live. Uh, and it's beautiful. There's in a different video, this is more about like politics, history, technology, this video. But in other videos, I want to talk about more like philosophy or religious video, or maybe specifically Christianity. I'm not sure, but there's a lot that goes behind what he's touching on briefly here. But anyways, and to want to live, like a reason to get up in the morning. So that's what he answered, and he said he'd be depressed if we don't have a future like that. And he also said that he wants to be a multi-planet species, and so that's what he was kind of saying. Then the guy that was talking to him is like, well, hang on a second, let's be more secular. It's like, why solve this planetary species issue? As humanity being a multiplanetary species, why solve that? Like, you should instead solve just a sustainable energy. Like, that's more important. And I loved his answer to this. He was saying, so he likes to look at the future like as a branching stream of probabilities. Kind of like probability trees, what I think of. Probability is a very interesting subject. We should all understand that. People need to understand that better. Honestly, everybody should. But I sucked at probability and statistics and engineering. But man, I would definitely get back into that. I took it once. I got a B, thank goodness. But okay, sorry, separate stuff. And I'm not even going to edit this one. I'll edit them in the future, but I don't really care because they're just great content sometimes. Whatever. So how much you speed up... Okay, so there's this little flow chart he was kind of talking about. The actions that we do affect the probability stream, which affects the output, like our future or our present. And so basically the actions that we do can affect how much you speed up or slow down technologies that are being, progressed upon. You can even negatively impact research or negatively impact technologies. For instance, the ancient Egyptians built the pyramids, the Greeks built aqueducts, and they later on in history couldn't figure out how to do that. So sometimes there's regressions in technology. Very interesting. So sustainability has to happen. So the thing about the way he answered this was that, plus sustainable energy has to happen for humanity. He didn't say this, but he was kind of getting at this. I think basically it's a extinction question. If we don't get sustainable energy down, our humanity would go extinct. Like if we run out of resources, if we run out of resources, we at least need air, oxygen, food and water, nourishment, and shelter, temperature. So we at least need that. But fossil fuels are kind of an extension of that too. Because if we run out of that, then we can't even get off this planet, possibly. There's just an idea there that if you don't solve sustainable energy, society will, it's a required thing for us to live. But multiplanetary species isn't exactly inevitable. And so space interest has died down since the late 1969. Tech does not automatically improve. I was talking about ancient Egypt, inspiration to humanity, but basically he wants to affect the probability stream by going to space, becoming a multiplanetary species, and because in hopes if he advances that technology and that progress, it will affect the entire probability stream, or certain things at least, to improve the speed in which these other things get advanced. Like when we went into outer space, all the things that we got from the space race, such as microwave technology, duct tape, Velcro. I don't know when we got zippers, but it might have been part of that. So many different things. When communications technology needed a boost, and AT&T needed to get us to coast coverage, the vacuum tube was maybe before that, but that might have been used then. The transistor became the invention that was required to take a weak electrical signal and boost it. Sometimes, in that innovation, inspiration, dreams, striving for something, working really hard, going for something, that affects everything else. It totally changes how life works. So I wanted to talk about all that, and it's okay. And so basically, all that is what I wanted to say. And then, okay, so after you said all that stuff, it's like the crowd really dug that up. Like, we're humans, like we are who we are. And there's some core things about us that, like, inspiration is a necessity in a sense. So he was basically, the questioner was saying, Elon, we can see that everything you do, like company wise, pushing technological wise, it's kind of a mixture of two things. One is serving the longevity of humankind, and two is mixed with two. It has to be exciting or inspiring, and it's like one can't live without the other. He was making the point, and so I think maybe he asked why was that or whatever, and I've explained pretty much everything already. But in the end, Elon's point was that his point is to think about the future and not be sad. That's what he said. He just wants to not have a sad future. And that's what his life is bringing to humanity. That's what his purpose for humanity is for himself. That's basically kind of what it ends up on. And so the commentator ended it and said, thanks for... he thanked Elon Musk for helping us all dream a bit bigger. So, very, very interesting. I love that. I loved it. And my talk yesterday with my friend about his politics and history was very kind of similar to that, but in a total different direction. Mostly focused on history in the past and kind of our present politics. Not really the future, and that's more about the future. So I guess I'll end this with basically I guess, because the thing was, what should our future look like? Man, I love that. Obviously, it's technological. I love what I talked about, learned yesterday. Just looking at what we know, what we can see, and everything. I definitely want mankind and humanity to, one, respect each other. I think one problem in America is community isn't a very good thing. Individualism kind of spawns fear sometimes. Not fear is kind of a strong one, but fear sort of mistrust. Competition is a good thing, but sometimes competition breeds strife, which degrades. I just want a future for humanity's survival. You need to be constructive instead of destructive. Destructive leads to extinction. Constructive leads to life and to prosperity, which is what's we all should strive for, is prosperity. And there's a whole spiritual. You could say spiritual if you're kind of more religious. Some people aren't, but there's a whole moral side to this stuff as well, which I don't really want to get into right now. Other videos, but. I just want humanity to, I want community to kind of be fixed more. And some things I don't think will ever get fixed. Humans are just humans, But I would like to see improvements in how community works. There's back and forth on everything. Advancements and regressions on things, which obviously we saw with the, ancient pyramids with the Egyptians and the Greek aqueducts. Those are technological, but... So I want to see community. I want to see people come together to have trust and safety and security and strength and authenticity in communities. So I want that. I also want dreams. I want dreams and optimism to be a thing. Because honestly, realism is a good thing, but pessimism is kind of... I know there's pros and cons to pretty much everything, but Pessimism leads towards destructive. It's more destructive for humanity than obstruct or not obstructive than constructive. I think optimism. Obviously you got to rein things in, but honestly, optimism. Like I want to see more dreams. I want to see more people making music. I want to see more artists making music. I want to see more artists making beautiful art. I want to see more politicians dreaming bigger on their countries and on their states and their what they can do. And I want to see people striving for good, for healthy lifestyles. I want people to figure out the body and the mind and figure out the human body. We're trying to reverse engineer like the brain. I want us to keep learning, and I want us to expand. Basically, I'm honestly all this has been rambling on about. I want us to be constructive, and I want us to be a country that continues to inspire others. There's a lot of problems to address, and I know that those probably could go in other videos. But basically, now let me just share with you my dream. I think that was the real question. But I guess I explained the backstory behind what I'm about to say. So what I see my future, not mine, I guess, but humanity's. What should our future look like as humanity? Just us alive on, us, not talking about after death, whatever you think about that, or before you're born, but just humanity as we know it. I want to see humanity become a multiplanetary species. I want us to, kind of have a Jetsons type thing, be technological and progress. I also want to see us, man, I'm very interested in technological, so that's kind of what I'm going to be going with. Man, there's honestly though, that's why it's so beautiful to have multiple people. Like, I'm so glad everybody's different because I love hearing other people's ideas. Like, I honestly could probably only bring one great idea to like out of all the many, many ideas you bring, like maybe 1 to 10 great ideas. But I guess my greatest idea is basically like that multiplanetary species. But I'm definitely something about me is I'm courageous, and I'm willing to be bold, and I'm willing to stand my ground. And sometimes that's important when you're isolated or when you're weak or like when you're being attacked. It's good to have a strong inner self, and I feel like I have that. But it's like I want exploration to continue. I want us to go out into the galaxy and go see all the stars and map everything out, and I want us to see vegetation on other planets, and if there's like aliens or anything. I don't really care if there is or not. It's just I think it'd be cooler if our universe consists of life forms that were, obviously we are, when we think of aliens, like in a movie type sense, we're thinking of like humanoid type things or something. But I think they've even found on Mars that there are like living organisms like on Mars, like in the ice I think there are. And honestly, it makes sense, but so they're probably